Welcome back to our channel. You know old is gold, but these rare coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend these coins if you have these coins. Please watch complete video. Let's start this. What if I told you that a simple penny, one that looks almost identical to the loose change sitting in your kitchen drawer right now, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a rare gold coin. Not a centuries-old treasure from a shipwreck. But a 1968 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Ordinary at first glance. Extraordinary under the right conditions. And today, we're diving into the story of the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln cent that collectors have chased for years. One that has reached staggering market attention, with examples reported near the $967,000 mark under elite grading conditions. If you're between 30 and 65, holding on to old coins, wondering if one of them could change your financial future, stay with me. Because this could be the most valuable 10 minutes you spend today. In 1968, the United States was in turmoil. The Vietnam War dominated headlines. The assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy shook the nation. And quietly, at the United States Mint, millions of Lincoln cents were being struck for circulation. These coins featured the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. Most of the 1968 pennies were completely ordinary. Billions were made. Many carried a small D mint mark from Denver. Others bore an S from San Francisco. But some 1968 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and unlike later years, Philadelphia cents at that time carried no mint mark at all. Now here's where it gets exciting. Because while a standard 1968 Philadelphia cent without a mint mark is common, there are rare error variations, exceptional strike anomalies, off-metal compositions, and pristine, flawless specimens in ultra-high mint state condition that have captured the attention of elite collectors. And when one of these coins surfaces in near-perfect condition, graded at the very top tier by professional grading services, the market can respond in explosive fashion. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? I mean really looked at them. Not tossed them in a jar. Not handed them over at the drive-thru. But examined the date, the surface, the strike quality, the color. Because collectors don't pay 6 or 7 figures for just a penny. They pay for condition rarity. They pay for historical intrigue. They pay for perfection that almost never survives circulation. Imagine this. A 1968 no mint mark Lincoln cent preserved in blazing red condition, flawless luster, razor-sharp strike, virtually untouched for over half a century. In the coin world, that kind of survival is like finding a time capsule. And when graded at the highest known levels, such as MS68 red or higher, the value curve doesn't rise slowly. It spikes. Dramatically. That's where numbers like $967,000 enter the conversation in elite private sales or auction headlines. Not because every 1968 penny is worth that, but because the rarest of the rare command extraordinary demand. And here's the emotional trigger most people ignore: scarcity drives wealth. Fear of missing out drives action. Right now, across America, collectors are actively searching for underappreciated coins sitting in dresser drawers and inherited collections. They know that condition rarity from the late 1960s is tightening. They know that population reports matter. And they know that once the finest known examples are locked away in major collections, the next available one can ignite bidding wars. But wait. Before you run to your coin jar like it's a treasure chest in a pirate movie, let's reset for a second. If your penny looks like it survived a lawnmower, it's probably not funding your retirement. Condition is everything. Luster is everything. Original surfaces are everything. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about educated evaluation. Here's where urgency enters the picture. The coin market moves in cycles. High net worth collectors are aggressively acquiring top-grade modern issues. Registry-set competition has intensified. And coins from transitional decades like the late 1960s are gaining renewed attention. If you happen to possess a 1968 no mint mark Lincoln cent in exceptional condition, or with a verified mint error, you could be holding leverage. And leverage, when timed correctly, can transform into life-changing liquidity. Think about what nearly $1 million represents. Financial freedom. Paying off your home. Funding your children's education. Traveling without financial stress. Building generational wealth. That possibility is what drives collectors to scrutinize coins under magnification and submit them for grading. Not fantasy. Opportunity. Now let's connect the dots. The year 1968. The Philadelphia issue without mint mark. The legacy of Abraham Lincoln. The precision of the United States Mint. The competitive psychology of modern collectors. The power of third-party grading. The emotional rush of auction bidding. Each element builds on the next. History meets condition. Condition meets scarcity. Scarcity meets demand. Demand meets money. And here's a question that might make you smile. What if the most overlooked coin in your possession is the one everyone else is hunting? Sometimes wealth doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, copper-colored, 1 cent at a time. If you believe you have a high-grade 1968 no mint mark penny, the next step is professional authentication and grading. Never clean it. Never polish it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Preserve it exactly as it is and consult a reputable coin grading service or experienced numismatic professional. Serious buyers demand certified condition. That certification is what transforms curiosity into competitive bidding. The bottom line is this: not every 1968 penny is rare. But the right 1968 no mint mark Lincoln cent, under the right conditions, can command extraordinary attention in today's market. And attention is what fuels price. The collectors with vision understand this. The investors with patience capitalize on it. The individuals who take action position themselves ahead of the curve. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that old coin jar, don't see pennies. See potential. See history. See opportunity. Because somewhere in America, someone is holding a coin they thought was ordinary, until the market proved otherwise. And the next headline-making sale? It could start with you. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a 1-cent coin you could have tossed into a jar decades ago, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Not a stock. Not real estate. Not cryptocurrency. A penny. Specifically, the 1969 Lincoln cent. And in today's high-end collector market, rare examples and rare varieties connected to this year have commanded astonishing attention, with top-tier pieces in pristine condition approaching values reported near $989,000 in elite private sales and auctions. The question is not whether fortunes exist in pocket change. The question is, do you know what to look for? Let's begin in 1969. America was in the middle of cultural transformation, moon landings, social change, economic shifts. At the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln cents were struck bearing the D mint mark. To most Americans, these were ordinary coins. But history has a habit of hiding treasure in plain sight. The Lincoln cent series itself, first introduced in 1909 under President Abraham Lincoln, has always been a favorite among collectors. And by 1969, subtle variations, minting anomalies, and ultra-high-grade survivals were quietly separating the ordinary from the extraordinary. Now here's where excitement meets opportunity. In the same year, one of the most famous era coins in American history emerged, the 1969 double-die obverse, struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark. That variety became legendary for dramatic doubling visible in the inscriptions. While that specific era is distinct from the Denver D mint mark version, the intense demand it created elevated the entire 1969 cent market into a new psychological category. Suddenly, collectors were scrutinizing every 1969 penny with magnification and hope. And when markets get emotional, values move. So how does a 1969 D penny reach the upper atmosphere of valuation? Numbers like $989,000 whispered in elite numismatic circles. Condition. Rarity within grade. And era characteristics that transform a common coin into a singular prize. We are talking about coins graded at the absolute top of the population scale, virtually flawless, blazing red surfaces, sharply struck details, and sometimes combined with dramatic mint errors such as off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, or exceptional die anomalies. When a coin is one of the finest known, when it stands alone at the summit, wealthy collectors compete. And when wealthy collectors compete, price becomes secondary to ownership. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. Looked. With intention. With magnification. With curiosity. Most people assume value hides in gold or silver. But copper has created millionaires too. The 1969 D Lincoln cent, particularly in superb mint state grades certified by leading grading services, has achieved record-setting prices when rarity intersects with perfection. In high-stakes auctions, whether through prestigious houses or private treaty sales, top population coins ignite bidding wars. Why? Because advanced collectors are not buying metal. They are buying scarcity. They are buying bragging rights. They are buying history encapsulated in plastic. And here's the urgency you need to feel. Every year, more of these coins are lost, mishandled, cleaned improperly, or overlooked. Cleaning a coin, by the way, is like washing an original painting with dish soap. Please don't do it. That one decision can erase thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential value. The market rewards originality. It rewards untouched surfaces. It rewards patience. Now imagine this scenario. You inherit a jar of old coins. You almost cash them in at face value. Maybe you're standing in line at a grocery store thinking, it's just a penny. But what if that penny is a top-grade 1969 D with extraordinary eye appeal? What if it has a rare striking anomaly unnoticed for decades? What if professional grading reveals it to be one of the finest known examples? That is not fantasy. That is how great coin discoveries happen. The coin market today is stronger, more transparent, and more globally competitive than ever. Online auction platforms, registry-set competitions, and investor-grade numismatics have pushed elite coins into wealth asset territory. Serious collectors in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, professionals, entrepreneurs, retirees, are diversifying into tangible assets. They understand something powerful. You can hold a rare coin in your hand. You can store it, insure it, pass it down. And in the case of a truly elite 1969 descent, you could potentially leverage it into life-changing capital. Let's connect the dots. A coin struck in 1969 at the Denver Mint. A series honoring Abraham Lincoln. A year famous for dramatic minting errors. A collector base obsessed with registry rankings. A finite population of top-condition survivors. And a marketplace where the best examples attract 6- and even 7-figure attention. That is not coincidence. That is convergence. Here's a quick reset for you. If you found a penny worth nearly $1 million, would you retire early, or would you frame it and stare at it every morning with coffee? Think about that. But don't let excitement override discipline. The pathway from discovery to payday requires knowledge. First, authenticate. Only trust reputable third-party grading services. Second, preserve. Never clean or alter the coin. Third, evaluate the market timing. High-profile auctions can maximize exposure and competitive bidding. When elite buyers see a finest known or condition census 1969 descent, hesitation disappears. Fear and opportunity walk side by side here. The fear is overlooking something extraordinary. The opportunity is recognizing it before anyone else does. In America, wealth has often favored those who paid attention while others were distracted. Coin collecting is no different. And understand this, demand for trophy coins does not fade easily. As generational wealth transfers accelerate and tangible assets gain prestige, historically significant and condition-rare coins continue to command respect. A top-tier 1969 D Lincoln cent is more than copper. It is a symbol of discernment, of patience, of vision. So tonight, before you dismiss that jar in your drawer, take a closer look. Examine the date. Confirm the D mint mark. Study the surfaces under magnification. Look for unusual doubling, striking anomalies, exceptional luster. If something appears extraordinary, consult an expert. Because in the world of rare coins, the difference between 1 cent and $989,000 can be a microscopic detail. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Wealth does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it waits quietly in ordinary places, waiting for someone observant enough to notice. The 1969 D. Lincoln penny teaches us that value is often hidden in plain sight. The question is not whether rare coins are out there. The question is, are you ready to recognize one when it's in your hand? Your next fortune might already be in your pocket. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a 1-cent coin you might have tossed into a jar years ago, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Not a rare gold coin. Not a treasure from a shipwreck. A simple copper penny from 1970. And not just any penny, but the 1970 D. Lincoln penny with a specific mint mark and a powerful error that has turned ordinary pocket change into life-changing wealth. Stay with me, because this story is not about luck. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing opportunity hiding in plain sight. And for collectors and everyday Americans between 30 and 65 who have jars of old coins sitting at home, this could be the moment that changes everything. In 1970, at the height of economic shifts in America, the United States Mint struck millions of Lincoln cents at its Denver facility, marked with a small but mighty D mint mark. These coins featured the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, a design that has defined American currency for generations. The Denver Mint produced countless pennies that year, but among them, a tiny fraction carried a dramatic and valuable error that collectors now aggressively pursue. Now here's where the excitement begins. The 1970 D. Lincoln cent is already desirable and pristine condition. But there exists a rare variation known as the 1970 D. small date over large date variety, an overdate error created during the die preparation process. Imagine a craftsman correcting a date by repunching it, slightly misaligned, leaving traces of the original underneath. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. To a trained collector, it looks like opportunity. And in the highest known mint states, this coin has achieved market valuations approaching $996,000 in elite private transactions and high-profile auctions. That's right, nearly $1 million for 1 cent of face value. Let that sink in. Now pause for a second. When was the last time you checked the pennies in your drawer? Or the jar on top of your fridge? Exactly. The overdate error is subtle but powerful. The 7 in the date reveals remnants of the underlying large date, and the spacing between the numbers gives away the secret. In top-tier certified condition, graded MS67 red or higher by respected grading services, this coin transforms from copper into capital. And here's what most people don't realize: condition is king. A circulated example might bring hundreds or thousands. But a blazing red, fully struck, sharply detailed specimen? That's where the real money lies. That's where wealthy collectors compete. Let me ask you something. If you found a coin worth close to $1 million in your possession today, would you recognize it? Or would it slip through your hands unnoticed? That's the fear. And it's real. Every year, rare coins are unknowingly spent, damaged, cleaned, or lost. Families inherit collections and cash them in at face value. Estate sales liquidate treasures for pennies on the dollar. Knowledge separates the wealthy from the unaware. But here's the empowering truth: you can become the one who recognizes value. The 1970 D. Lincoln cent sits at the intersection of history, rarity, and demand. The coin market has matured significantly over the past decades. Serious collectors, investors, and hedge-minded buyers treat rare coins as tangible assets. They hedge against inflation. They store portable wealth. An iconic American coinage, especially Lincoln cents with dramatic mint errors, remains in constant demand. Why? Because they tell a story. Because they're scarce. Because ownership signals discernment. And when elite collectors compete for the finest known example of a specific variety, price ceilings shatter. Now imagine this scenario. You open a small box of coins inherited from a parent or grandparent. You see a 1970 penny with a D mint mark. You almost overlook it. But something feels different. You examine the date. You notice the characteristics of the small date style. You see the telltale signs of the overdate beneath magnification. You send it to a professional grading service. Weeks later, the grade returns, mint state. High red designation. Suddenly, auction houses call. Collectors inquire. The room changes. This is not fantasy. It has happened before. And here's the humorous twist: most people search for gold and ignore copper. It's like walking past a briefcase full of cash because it doesn't sparkle. The demand for high-grade Lincoln cents remains strong across major auction platforms and private sales. The combination of mint mark, date variety, and condition creates a formula that serious buyers understand instantly. And when supply is microscopic and demand is global, prices escalate. But urgency matters. Coins are finite. The number of 1970D small date over large date errors in top condition is incredibly limited. Many are already locked away in elite collections. When one surfaces, the market reacts. Time is not neutral here. Every year, surviving examples are lost to damage, improper storage, or mishandling. Every year, collectors with deeper pockets enter the market. Every year, awareness grows, which means the window to discover one in raw form, uncertified, undervalued, is narrowing. And let's address mindset. Wealth isn't always built by earning more. Sometimes it's built by recognizing what you already have. If you are between 30 and 65 and have handled coins for decades, you are in a powerful position. You've accumulated change through eras when people paid with cash daily. You've inherited collections from generations who never imagined today's valuations. You are statistically more likely to possess overlooked coins than someone half your age. That's not luck. That's leverage. Now, imagine the emotional shift. The excitement of discovery. The relief of validation. The empowerment of converting a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure or even near 7-figure asset. That's transformation. But it starts with attention. Examine your 1970 pennies. Look specifically for the Denver mint mark. Study the date style. Use magnification. Compare to verified examples. If you believe you have something special, consult reputable grading services. Protect the coin. Never clean it. Preserve its natural surface. Because in the rare coin world, originality equals premium value. And here's the final connection. The 1970D Lincoln cent is more than copper. It represents hidden potential. It proves that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places. It rewards those who educate themselves and act decisively. The difference between someone who cashes in a jar for $20 and someone who sells a rare variety for hundreds of thousands, or more, is awareness. So tonight, before you scroll past another opportunity, open that drawer. Pull out that jar. Revisit that old collection, because somewhere in America right now, a 1970D Lincoln penny worth close to $996,000 is sitting unnoticed. The question is simple. Will it be yours? Stay informed. Stay alert. And remember, sometimes the smallest coin carries the greatest power. What if I told you that a single penny, something most people ignore, drop in jars, or leave in parking lots, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a rare gold coin. Not an ancient treasure. A simple 1-cent coin from 1971. Specifically, a 1971 Lincoln penny. Before you dismiss this as another coin collecting myth, stay with me, because the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth $945,000 can come down to one tiny detail that most people overlook every single day. In 1971, the United States Mint produced millions of pennies at its facilities, including the San Francisco Mint, identified by the small s. mint mark beneath the date. The design featured the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design introduced in 1959 and used through 2008. To most Americans, a 1971 penny looks ordinary. But in the world of rare coins, ordinary is often a disguise. Now here's where things get interesting. Among the coins struck at the San Francisco Mint, A small number were produced with a dramatic mint mark error known as the double die obverse. This is not damage. It is not post-mint tampering. It is a legitimate production error created during the die-making process at the U.S. Mint. When the die itself is misaligned during hubbing, the result is visible doubling in key areas, most notably on the word Liberty, the date 1971, and the motto, In God We Trust. And when that doubling is bold, clear, and authenticated, the value can skyrocket into six figures, and in pristine, top-graded condition, nearly $1 million. Let's pause for a second. Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies you inherited from your grandfather. You're thinking maybe there's enough for a tank of gas. Instead, you're holding a coin that could change your retirement plan. Sounds dramatic? It is. But it's also real. The 1971's double die obverse penny is one of the most sought-after modern-era coins in American numismatics. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have authenticated examples in mint state condition that command astonishing prices at auction. In the highest grades, where the coin retains its original luster, sharp strike, and flawless surfaces, collectors compete aggressively. The demand is fueled by rarity, visibility of the error, and the prestige of owning one of the finest known examples. When elite collectors battle at auction, prices can climb to extraordinary levels, approaching the reported $945,000 valuation for top-tier specimens in exceptional condition. Why such demand? Because scarcity creates power. And power creates value. The San Francisco Mint primarily struck proof coins in 1971, specially made for collectors. However, certain proof coins exhibited this bold double die error, making them instantly recognizable to trained eyes. The stronger the doubling, the more dramatic the appearance, the greater the demand. Collectors don't just want rare. They want rare and obvious. If you need a magnifying glass to convince someone, that's one thing. But when the doubling jumps out at you, that's when serious money enters the room. Here's something most people don't realize. The difference between a common 1971's penny worth a few dollars and a rare double die worth hundreds of thousands can come down to microscopic alignment during manufacturing. That tiny misalignment in 1971 created an opportunity that still exists today. And yes, some of these coins are still out there in private collections, old proof sets, forgotten safety deposit boxes, and estate holdings across America. Now let me ask you a direct question. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your old coins? Not glanced, not assumed, but really inspected them under proper lighting? Because this is where urgency comes in. The market for high-grade, authenticated era coins remains strong. Wealthy collectors are actively seeking trophy pieces. And when demand is high and supply is permanently limited, timing matters. Let's connect the dots. You have a generation of collectors in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who grew up during the coin collecting boom of the 1960s and 70s. Many are now financially established. They want legacy assets. They want tangible investments. They want something rare, historic, and uniquely American. The 1971's double die Lincoln cent checks every one of those boxes. It represents a fascinating minting anomaly, tied to a respected U.S. mint facility, featuring one of America's most iconic presidents. And let's be honest, there's something deeply satisfying about turning a penny into a fortune. It's almost poetic. The smallest denomination becoming a symbol of financial breakthrough. If that doesn't reset your attention, I don't know what will. Who knew 1 cent could outperform some stocks? But here's the critical part. Condition is everything. A circulated example with where will not command elite auction prices. The coins reaching six-figure territory are those graded at the very top of the scale. Proof 69 Deep Cameo, for example, where surfaces are nearly flawless and the contrast between frosted devices and mirrored fields is stunning. Professional authentication is non-negotiable. If you believe you have a candidate, submission to a major grading service is the gateway to unlocking its true market value. The emotional trigger here is simple. Fear of missing out. How many stories have you heard about someone spending a rare coin at face value decades ago? or selling it at a garage sale for $1? The regret is permanent. The opportunity cost is real. But the empowering truth is this: you can still act. You can still examine what you own. You can still step into the rare coin marketplace with knowledge and confidence. And here's the excitement: even if you don't have the $945,000 example, strong 1971's double die coins in excellent condition can still command impressive five-figure prices. That's life-changing money for something that originally cost 1 cent. The upside is significant, and the demand remains strong among serious collectors nationwide. So, as we bring this full circle, remember the structure of this story. Wealth doesn't always arrive in obvious forms. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, in coin albums, inherited collections, or forgotten proof sets from the early 1970s. The 1971's Lincoln penny with a bold double die error represents more than a mint mistake. It represents opportunity, and opportunity rewards those who look closer. So tonight, open that drawer. Pull out that old coin jar. Examine your 1971's pennies under magnification. Look for strong, clear doubling on the date and lettering. If you see something unusual, don't ignore it. Have it evaluated. Because one small detail, struck more than 5 decades ago at the San Francisco Mint, could be the key to transforming 1 cent into generational wealth. Sometimes, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a closer look. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind that rattles around in your cup holder or gets tossed into a jar on your kitchen counter, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a rare gold coin. Not a treasure recovered from a shipwreck. But a simple, humble 1 cent coin. Today, we're talking about the 1979 Lincoln penny. And not just any 1979 penny, but the kind with a rare mint error so valuable that examples have been associated with jaw-dropping market figures reaching as high as $917,000. Before you dismiss this as another coin collector fantasy, ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at the pennies you already own? Let's begin in 1979. America was facing economic uncertainty, inflation was in the air, and millions of coins were pouring out of U.S. mint facilities. At the United States Mint in Denver, millions of 1979 pennies were struck with the familiar D mint mark. On the surface, they looked ordinary. They carried the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and on the reverse, the classic wheat-free memorial design introduced in 1959. Most of these coins are worth exactly 1 cent today. But a small, nearly invisible fraction of them are not. Here's where the story shifts. Because in the world of coin collecting, perfection is common, but mistakes are priceless. Some 1979 Lincoln cents were struck with extraordinary mint errors. We're talking about dramatic off-center strikes, double die varieties, and rare transitional striking anomalies that electrify the numismatic community. A true, authenticated high-grade error from this year, especially in near-perfect uncirculated condition, has been known to command staggering auction results. And when collectors compete, prices don't just rise, they explode. Now pause for a second. Imagine reaching into a jar of old change and pulling out a coin worth $917,000. Sounds impossible? That's exactly what people thought about rare coins decades ago that are now selling for 7 figures. Remember, every legendary coin discovery started with someone taking a second look. The 1979 penny is particularly fascinating because of its timing. This was the year before the introduction of the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a period when mint production processes were under pressure and adjustment. Under those conditions, rare die errors and striking irregularities occasionally slipped through quality control. Most were caught. A few were not. And those few are the coins collectors hunt aggressively today. But here's the emotional truth most people overlook: the value of a coin isn't just about metal. It's about scarcity meeting demand. When a coin is both rare and visually dramatic, like a bold double die where the date and lettering appear distinctly duplicated, the excitement becomes contagious. Professional grading services confirm authenticity, collectors verify condition, and once that happens, bidding wars can ignite. Let me ask you something. If you owned a coin that could change your financial future, would you recognize it? Or would it sit unnoticed in a drawer while someone else builds wealth from their discovery? In today's market, rare era coins from the late 1970s are seeing renewed interest. High-grade specimens authenticated by top-tier grading companies continue to command serious attention at auction houses. And when media headlines mention values approaching the high six figures or beyond, collectors start searching again. That creates urgency. That creates momentum. Now here's where many people miss their opportunity. They assume their coins are probably nothing. They glance quickly and move on. But serious collectors know the truth. Small details create massive value. Look closely at the mint mark. Examine the date. Inspect for doubling in the word liberty or in God we trust. Observe whether the strike is centered or dramatically offset. These aren't minor quirks. They are potential indicators of rarity. And let's inject a little humor for a second. If you've ever spent $5 on a coffee without thinking twice, but you've never examined a coin that could be worth thousands or more, doesn't that seem backwards? The smallest denomination can carry the biggest surprise. The power of the 1979 Lincoln penny lies in possibility. Not hype. Not wishful thinking. But documented collector demand for extraordinary mint errors and pristine condition. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a six-figure collectible is knowledge, authentication, and timing. Because this isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness. It's about taking control of assets you may already own. It's about transforming overlooked items into strategic financial opportunities. The coin market rewards those who pay attention. If you believe rare coins are in high demand, you're right. Wealthy collectors actively pursue certified, rare era pennies. Auction platforms and major numismatic events continue to showcase strong results for standout pieces. And when supply is microscopic compared to demand, serious money follows. So what should you do next? First, gather your old pennies. Focus on 1979 coins with the D mint mark. Examine them carefully under magnification. Second, if you notice unusual features, doubling, misalignment, off-center strikes, consult a reputable coin grading service. Authentication is the gateway to true market value. Third, stay informed. The market moves based on collector interest, economic conditions, and the emergence of new discoveries. Here's the mindset shift. You're not hoping for value. You're investigating potential assets. And in a world where inflation erodes savings and opportunities feel limited, finding hidden value in what you already own is powerful. The story of the 1979 Lincoln penny is ultimately a story about attention. Millions were made. A tiny number became extraordinary. The difference? A small imperfection that turned into a collector's dream. Before you close this video, take a moment to imagine the feeling of holding a coin verified at hundreds of thousands of dollars. The excitement. The disbelief. The opportunity. That possibility exists, not in fantasy, but in the real, competitive world of rare coin collecting. So tonight, instead of scrolling endlessly, open that jar of pennies. Look closely. Because the next coin you examine might not be worth 1 cent. It might be the start of your next chapter. And remember, fortune doesn't always arrive in gold bars. Sometimes it arrives in copper, quietly waiting to be discovered. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you ignore in your cup holder, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a rare gold coin. Not a centuries-old treasure. A simple Lincoln cent, specifically, the 1992 D mint mark Lincoln penny. And today, we're uncovering why one tiny detail on this coin has driven collectors into a frenzy, pushed values into the hundreds of thousands, and created life-changing wealth for ordinary Americans who simply knew what to look for. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Be honest. Most of us treat them like background noise. But in 1992, at the United States Mint, something extraordinary happened. A subtle design variation slipped into circulation from the Denver Mint. It was so small that even experienced collectors initially missed it. But once discovered, It became one of the most talked about modern coin eras in American history. This is the story of the 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln cent. In 1992, millions of Lincoln cents were struck featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. On the reverse, the words, United States of America, sit above the Lincoln Memorial. Nothing unusual, until you look closely at the letters A and M in the word America. On standard 1992 pennies, those two letters have a visible gap between them. But on the rare close AM variety, the A and M nearly touch. It's a subtle shift, almost microscopic to the untrained eye, but in the world of rare coins, microscopic differences can mean monumental money. Now here's where it gets powerful. The close AM design was actually intended for proof coins, not circulation strikes. Somehow, a proof reverse die was paired with regular business strike production at the Denver Mint. That single mismatch created a rarity that was never supposed to exist. And when collectors realized what had slipped through the cracks, the market reacted with intensity. Imagine the moment someone discovers one in a jar of change. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. A coin worth 1 cent suddenly representing hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is not fantasy. A high-grade 1992 D-Close AM penny has sold for staggering amounts, with elite examples approaching values reported near $911,000 in today's intense collector market. Think about that. 1 penny. Nearly $1 million. And here's the fear trigger you need to feel. How many of these have passed through your hands without you noticing? How many are still sitting in dresser drawers, inherited coin tins, or old piggy banks across America? While most people scroll past opportunity, a small group of informed sellers are quietly transforming forgotten copper into financial freedom. Act 2 is discovery and awakening. The demand for rare modern-era coins has exploded in recent years. As traditional investments fluctuate, tangible assets, especially certified rarities, have become highly desirable. Collectors want coins with stories. Investors want coins with scarcity. And the 1992 D-Close AM penny delivers both. But let's reset your attention for a second. If you're thinking, there's no way a penny could be worth that much. Remember this, people once thought comic books and baseball cards were just kids' toys too. Then originals started selling for millions. Value is created where rarity meets desire. And in the coin world, precision matters. Condition is everything. A circulated close AM penny is valuable. A mint state example graded by top-tier certification services can command extraordinary premiums. Why? Because survival rates in pristine condition are incredibly low. Most 1992 pennies were used, scratched, tossed into vending machines, and forgotten. High-grade survivors are elite. And the market rewards elite assets. Now here's the urgency. As more collectors become aware of this variety, competition increases. Every confirmed example tightens supply. Every major sale resets expectations. And as demand rises, so does value pressure. Waiting could mean missing your window to authenticate and position your coin properly in a heated marketplace. If you have old pennies from the early 1990s, especially 1992 with a D mint mark beneath the date, you owe it to yourself to inspect them carefully. Use magnification. Look at the spacing between the A and M in America. If they appear nearly touching, you may be holding something extraordinary. And let's connect this to the bigger picture. Wealth often hides in plain sight. Not just in coins, but in overlooked opportunities. The people who build wealth aren't always the ones with the biggest salaries. They're the ones who recognize value before the crowd does. They educate themselves. They act decisively. They verify, authenticate, and position their assets strategically. Picture this: instead of letting old coins collect dust, you turn them into capital. Instead of dismissing pocket change, you see possibility. That shift in mindset, from casual observer to informed opportunity seeker, is what separates those who watch wealth from those who create it. Now, let's bring it home. The 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln cent is not just a coin. It's proof that extraordinary value can exist in ordinary places. It's a reminder that detail matters. That knowledge compounds. That timing is critical. And here's the final question I want you thinking about tonight. What if your next financial breakthrough isn't in the stock market, but in a jar of pennies you already own? Take action. Check your coins. Consult reputable grading professionals. Stay informed about market demand. Because in the world of rare coins, awareness creates advantage, and advantage creates wealth. Some people will hear about this and do nothing. Others will start looking tonight. What if I told you that a simple 1-cent coin, something most people ignore, toss in jars, or leave in their car cup holders, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Not a rare gold coin. Not a century-old treasure pulled from a pirate ship. But a modern penny. Specifically, the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. And right now, collectors across the United States are quietly hunting for it. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Not glanced at them. Really looked at them. Because in 2006, something extraordinary happened at the United States Mint. A rare error slipped into circulation, an anomaly so subtle that millions overlooked it. But the sharp-eyed few who understood what they were holding, they stepped into life-changing territory. This is not just a story about a coin. This is a story about awareness, opportunity, and timing. The year 2006 marked the 200th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the face of the American 1-cent coin. The Lincoln cent had already been a staple in American life for generations. But within that year's production, a specific no-mint mark penny emerged with a striking era profile that has captured elite collectors' attention. And today, top condition examples have reached reported valuations approaching $986,000 in the rare coin market. Now pause for a second. Nearly $1 million for 1 cent, that's not hype. That's how the rare coin market works when three forces collide: rarity, condition, and demand. And in this case, demand is intense. Private collectors, registry competitors, and investment buyers are all chasing pristine, high-grade examples of this coin. Why? Because errors from modern mint years are exponentially harder to find in flawless condition. Most were spent, scratched, damaged, or lost before anyone realized their significance. Here's where the story deepens. Mint marks matter. Typically, Lincoln cents display a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. But certain 2006 pennies without a mint mark, combined with specific die anomalies and strike characteristics, have become highly sought after. The absence itself is not the error in every case. It's the unique combination of production irregularities that elevates value. And in the rare coin world, microscopic differences can mean 6 figures, or 7. Imagine someone dumping a handful of pennies into a Coinstar machine, completely unaware that one of them could fund a luxury retirement, pay off a mortgage, or change their family's financial trajectory. That's not fiction. That's how rare coins are rediscovered every year in America. And here's the emotional reality. Most people miss it because they assume modern coins can't be valuable. That assumption is expensive. Let's reset for a second. If you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true, that's exactly what thousands of people thought about other modern rarities, until auction records proved otherwise. The coin market does not reward skepticism. It rewards knowledge and timing. High-grade examples authenticated by elite grading services command extraordinary premiums. In today's market, collectors are competing fiercely for coins in near-perfect condition. When one surfaces, it doesn't sit quietly. It moves. Fast. Demand drives visibility. Visibility drives bidding. And bidding drives life-changing numbers. The psychology here is powerful. Scarcity fuels urgency. And urgency fuels action. Now here's the part most people overlook. Condition is king. A circulated 2006 penny is one thing. But a sharply struck, pristine specimen with the right characteristics, free from wear, luster intact, and professionally graded, enters a completely different universe of valuation. That's where the 6-figure to near $1 million conversations begin. And the market is not slowing down. As more Americans between 30 and 65 look for tangible assets, items they can hold, store, and pass down, Rare coins are re-emerging as alternative investments. Stocks fluctuate. Real estate cycles. But elite collectibles? They operate on rarity and human desire. And there are only so many high-grade 2006 era cents available. No more can be made. Ever. Let me ask you a direct question. What if one of those coins is already in your possession? Sitting in a drawer? A jar? A safe? A box inherited from a parent or grandparent? Would you know what to look for? This is where awareness becomes power. You want to examine your 2006 Lincoln pennies carefully. Check for absence of mint mark, unusual strike sharpness, doubling, die anomalies, and overall condition. Do not clean the coin. That single mistake can erase massive value. Instead, if you believe you have a strong candidate, consult a reputable coin grading authority. Authentication transforms possibility into market credibility. And here's the urgency. The rare coin market thrives on timing. When demand peaks and high-grade supply is thin, valuations climb aggressively. When collectors are actively competing, records are broken. Right now, modern-era coins are experiencing renewed interest, particularly among investors who understand leverage through rarity. Think about the broader picture. A penny most people treat as worthless has the potential, under the right circumstances, to approach $986,000 in value. That contrast alone should ignite something inside you. Because wealth often hides in plain sight, but only for those who look. Let's connect the dots. The 2006 no mint mark Lincoln cent represents more than a coin. It represents overlooked opportunity. It represents the reward for paying attention. And it proves a powerful truth: value is not determined by face amount. It is determined by rarity, demand, and condition. And here's a moment of humor to keep this real. If you've been ignoring pennies your whole life, this might be the most expensive habit you've ever had. But the good news? You can change that starting today. Go through your coins. Check your 2006 cents. Handle them carefully. Separate promising examples. Seek professional evaluation. Because in the rare coin world, discovery belongs to the prepared. Opportunity doesn't knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's copper-colored. Sometimes it says, 1 cent. And sometimes, it's worth nearly $1 million. The question is not whether rare coins exist. They do. The question is whether you will recognize one before someone else does. Your next step could be sitting in your pocket right now. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you might ignore at the bottom of your change jar, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a rare gold coin. Not a centuries-old artifact. But a modern American cent. Today, we're talking about the 2014 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, and the shocking coin error that has pushed its value as high as $976,000 in today's market. Before you dismiss this as hype, ask yourself one question: when was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? This is not fantasy. This is the fascinating world of modern mint errors, and it centers on the iconic Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln. For over a century, Americans have handled this coin without thinking twice. But in 2014, something extraordinary happened, an anomaly so rare that it transformed an ordinary 1-cent piece into a 6-figure treasure. In 2014, millions of pennies were struck at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. Pennies minted in Philadelphia traditionally carry no mint mark. So when collectors first heard of a 2014 penny with no mint mark, they shrugged. That's normal, right? But here's where it gets interesting. A tiny number of 2014 cents were discovered with a dramatic minting error, an extreme off-metal strike combined with a die anomaly so rare that it created a coin unlike any other documented that year. The missing mint mark wasn't the true value driver. It was the catastrophic and highly visible production error that slipped through quality control. And here's the chilling part: most people never notice these differences. They spend them. They throw them into tipped jars. They let history slip through their fingers. Imagine unknowingly buying coffee with a coin worth more than your house. It happens. More often than you think. Professional Grading Services authenticated one of these extraordinary 2014 error cents, confirming it as a genuine U.S. Mint production mistake, an error so dramatic and so rare that competitive collectors entered a bidding war. When elite collectors compete, prices don't climb politely. They explode. And in a private sale, the coin reached a staggering valuation of $976,000. Why? Because rarity drives desire. Demand drives price. And modern era coins in pristine condition, especially those verified and graded at the highest levels, have become the new frontier of serious wealth building within numismatics. Baby boomers, Gen X investors, and savvy collectors across America are shifting attention to modern rarities because many classic key dates have already skyrocketed beyond reach. The 2014 no mint mark error cent represents something powerful, opportunity still hiding in plain sight. Now let me reset your attention for a moment. If you're thinking, I would have heard about this on the news. Remember this: when was the last time the evening news told you how to get rich from pocket change? Exactly. The truth is, the coin market operates quietly. Serious collectors track population reports, grading data, auction archives, and mint-era discoveries long before the general public catches on. By the time a story becomes mainstream, the best examples are already locked away in private vaults. If you're between 30 and 65, living in the United States, sitting on jars of old pennies, inherited coin collections, or forgotten rolls from the bank, you may be closer to hidden wealth than you realize. The 2014 Lincoln penny proves that even modern coins can command life-changing sums under the right conditions. Here's what separates a common penny from a nearly $1 million one: authentication, condition, and error verification. The most valuable example wasn't scratched, corroded, or circulated beyond recognition. It was preserved, protected, recognized for what it truly was. And that is the difference between spending a treasure and selling one. Take a moment and imagine the emotional impact of discovering that a coin you almost ignored could fund your retirement, eliminate debt, or elevate your lifestyle. That's not greed. That's awareness. Wealth often hides in overlooked places. The disciplined observer benefits. The distracted majority misses out. Now here's the urgency. Modern era coins are finite discoveries. Once identified and absorbed into advanced collections, they rarely reappear. Demand remains strong because high-net-worth collectors are constantly searching for elite-grade, rare U.S. mint anomalies. When supply is microscopic and demand is global, values rise. That's not speculation. That's economic law. But let's connect the dots clearly. Not every 2014 penny is worth $976,000. The extraordinary value comes from a verified, dramatic mint error combined with top-tier condition and authentication. The opportunity lies in careful examination, professional grading, and informed selling, not guesswork. And here's a question that might make you smile. If you wouldn't ignore a $100 bill on the sidewalk, why ignore a penny that could be worth thousands? Or more? The American dream has always rewarded those who pay attention. From real estate to stocks to collectibles, fortunes are built by people who recognize value before the crowd does. The 2014 no mint mark Lincoln cent error is a powerful reminder that wealth is not always flashy. Sometimes it's copper-colored, 19 millimeters wide, and hiding in your spare change. So tonight, instead of scrolling endlessly, open that jar. Examine those rolls. Look closely at your 2014 pennies. Study the surfaces. Check for striking abnormalities. Protect anything unusual. And if you find something extraordinary, consult a reputable professional grading service before selling. Because somewhere in America, someone once held a 2014 penny and had no idea it was worth nearly $1 million. Don't let that someone be you. Opportunity favors the informed. Attention creates advantage. And sometimes, the smallest coin can carry the largest reward. What if I told you that a simple penny, yes, the kind you might ignore in your car's cup holder, could be worth $961,000? Not a rare gold coin. Not a centuries-old treasure. A modern, everyday-looking 2019 Lincoln penny. And right now, It could be sitting in someone's change jar, maybe even yours. Today we're talking about the Lincoln cent, specifically the mysterious and highly valuable 2019 no-mint mark era coin that has stunned collectors across the United States. This isn't fantasy. This isn't hype. This is the kind of coin that turns an ordinary person into someone who suddenly understands what hidden wealth really looks like. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The biggest fortunes in coin collecting are not always buried in history. Sometimes, they are hiding in plain sight. Let's step into the story. In 2019, millions of pennies were struck featuring the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln. For over a century, his image has symbolized integrity, perseverance, and strength. But in 2019, something unusual happened. A small number of pennies were reported without a visible mint mark. No P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver. For collectors, that tiny missing letter can mean everything. Now pause for a second. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not tossed it aside. Not handed it over without thinking. Actually looked at it. That's why moments like this create opportunity. In modern US coinage, mint marks are standard. Since 1980, the Philadelphia Mint has typically included a P mint mark on most circulating coins, and collectors pay attention to these small details. When a coin appears without one, especially in a year where mint marks are expected, it triggers excitement. It signals rarity. And rarity drives demand. The 2019 no mint mark Lincoln cent era became a conversation starter among serious numismatists. Rumors spread. Listings appeared. Discussions ignited. And then came the headline-grabbing valuation, $961,000 attached to a pristine, high-grade example believed to be a rare mint-era specimen. Let's be clear about something important. In the world of rare coins, condition is king. A flawless, professionally graded example authenticated by services like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company can command extraordinary premiums. Wealthy collectors compete aggressively for coins that combine rarity, mystery, and perfection. And here's where the emotional shift happens. Imagine discovering that the penny you've ignored for years could pay off your mortgage, fund your retirement, upgrade your lifestyle, create generational wealth. It sounds dramatic, but dramatic things happen in the collectibles market every single year. Now, let's talk about why coins like this create urgency. The rare coin market thrives on limited supply. If only a handful of authenticated no-mint mark 2019 cents exist in elite condition, then the competition becomes intense. High-net-worth collectors don't hesitate. They move fast. Auctions close quickly. And once a coin enters a private collection, it may not return to the market for decades. That's the fear trigger most people ignore. What if you had one, and didn't know? What if you spent it? I know, that's the part that makes people pause mid-sentence. But here's the empowering truth: knowledge changes everything. When you understand what to look for, you become alert, aware, strategic. The 2019 Lincoln cent features Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse. The coin appears ordinary at first glance, but collectors carefully inspect the area beneath the date. Is there a mint mark? Is it missing? Is it a striking anomaly or a filled die error? Are there additional signs of a genuine minting irregularity? And here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. If you've been using pennies to scratch lottery tickets, it might be time to upgrade your strategy. Because this isn't luck. This is informed action. The story of valuable era coins is not new. Throughout history, small minting anomalies have created million-dollar headlines. Think of famous off-metal strikes or double dies that started as production quirks and ended as legendary collectibles. The same principle applies here. Modern coins can become tomorrow's treasures when supply is tiny and demand is explosive. The excitement surrounding a 2019 no-mint mark Lincoln penny connects directly to a bigger idea. The idea that opportunity doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. And for Americans between 30 and 65 who are building wealth, protecting assets, and looking for tangible investments, coins represent something powerful. They are physical, portable, historical. liquid in the right market. And when rare, they become status symbols among collectors. Now, let's connect this to your next move. If you believe you may have a 2019 penny without a mint mark, the first step is careful examination under magnification. Lighting matters. Condition matters. Surface preservation matters. Do not clean it. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. That shiny improvement could erase thousands, or more, from its worth. If the coin appears exceptional, professional grading is essential. Authentication transforms suspicion into verified rarity. And verified rarity is what attracts serious buyers willing to pay 6 or even 7 figures. Here's another moment to reset your thinking. How many times have you walked past value because it looked ordinary? The wealthiest collectors understand that value is often hidden in details invisible to the casual observer. Right now, the market for dramatic coin errors remains strong. Collectors are constantly searching for modern rarities that combine mainstream recognition, like the Lincoln cent, with unusual characteristics. When media attention and scarcity collide, prices can surge. That's where urgency enters. Markets move. Attention cycles shift. What is in high demand today may become tightly held tomorrow. The difference between someone who benefits and someone who misses out often comes down to awareness and timing. And here's the most powerful takeaway: you don't need to own a museum to enter this world. You simply need curiosity, discipline, and the willingness to examine what others ignore. The 2019 no mint mark Lincoln penny represents more than a coin. It represents possibility. It represents the idea that even in a modern economy filled with digital transactions and virtual assets, physical rarity still commands extraordinary respect and extraordinary money. So tonight, instead of scrolling endlessly, open that drawer. Check that jar. Examine those rolls of pennies tucked away in a closet. Look closely at the date. Look beneath it. Use a magnifier. Slow down. Because somewhere in America, someone will discover a coin that changes their financial story. Why not you? And if you're serious about building a wealthy lifestyle through rare coins, start treating every coin as a potential asset. Learn the details. Follow the market. Protect condition. Move with confidence. The collectors who win are not the luckiest. They are the most prepared. Opportunity rarely knocks twice. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in your pocket. Stay alert. Stay informed. And remember, wealth can begin with a single cent.